And hello and good morning. I'm David Bowles, and this is Bowles.tv, BOLES.television. And once again, my headphones are still double ringing, as they say in the old biz. It's not doubled, but it's a little weird. And I did play with it before we came on live, and one of the things that if you mess with this, you're going to have double sound. So maybe when the show is done today, I'll go back and say, yes, give me double sound, and then maybe I'll have quadruple sound, and then I can go back and set it to where it's supposed to be, and I wouldn't have any echo. Off. So my goodness, so many things to talk about today. Wonderful things to discuss, terrible things to discuss, because this is the world in which we live. A lot of really terrible, awful things going on. And then there are also some wonderful, interesting things going on too. Had a great weekend. Jana Marie had a wonderful show, Saturday, Sunday. Big numbers, big participation, big chat. Wonderful. She's doing so fantastic. And she brought up an interesting topic that we're going to discuss later today about monkeypox, and is that a racist term? But first, right before we came on the air, I was browsing the Facebook, and I saw someone posting online this sort of strange memorial to a cousin who had died 7 years ago. And this person, and I know the situation was going on and on about how a wonderful person this was, and it's so sad that she died young and all this promise. I'm thinking, oh no. I know what this is about. Why are you bringing it up? For what purpose? To get sympathy and likes and try to build up your own self-esteem by bringing up the terrible, untimely, and frankly unseemly suicide of this very young woman. And if this is to be dredged up in public to get sympathy or attention, there are ways to do it. My opinion is it should be done by the family, the direct family, not nephews or cousins, but people who are directly devastated by this horrible death. And not someone who is sort of tangential in the family who decides, well, to boost my likes and to get sympathy, I'll bring this up. Oh, I can't believe it's been 7 years already. I'm sure she's in heaven talking to all of the rest of our dead family members. And if you're going to do something like that, then do it. Say, hey, 7 years ago, this family member committed suicide and devastated her parents, devastated the rest of the family. If you are feeling unwell or unsafe, please make a call. But when you play it mysteriously, oh, what a sad thing. Oh, she was so funny. Too bad what happened to her. Well, of course, you're going to get people in your comments on Facebook, which is exactly what happened, who don't really know what's going on 7 years ago. And they say, hey, what happened? Why did she die so young? And then what do? You answer, oh yeah, it was a suicide. Why didn't you say that in the first place? Or, I guess if you're desperate enough, you can play it up in the comments. Oh, it was a terrible situation, a lot of depression, suicide the only way out. But then you're trying to double down on the misery of others, double down on the death of a young person, double down on trying to get attention for yourself on Facebook. And as I am contemplating that conversation, was not a part of, just an observer, I'm thinking, well, hey, couldn't you be accused of the same thing, sir? And in fact, were you not accused of the same thing, sir, but not on Facebook, but on your blog? And speaking to myself, I said, well, yes, maybe, perhaps. So in 2009, the suicide of that other family member on Facebook happened 7 years ago. In 2009, I wrote this article about a friend of mine in high school named Jamie Musak. Jameson Paul Musak was his full name. Talented musician, talented actor. We worked together all one summer on a show that I wrote, produced, and directed called The Westboro Crusaders. We spent a lot of time with Jamie's house, a beautiful house. Filming, we used his house as a set. This is Jamie right here. And then when Jamie went to college, something happened. This is the TV show right here, Embedded, Bowles Blogs, right? Jamie right here. Played a crazy, wacky kind of character, which fit his personality, not typecasting. And he was on the drum line at the University of Nebraska. Jamie Musak right here. Jamie decided to kill himself. And my story was one of a pain and remorse and wondering and why, what happened. I'll put the link in chat. But I wasn't playing this up for likes or comments or sponsorships. We don't even run advertising on Bowles Blogs. Oh, there's Jana Marie, sweetheart. Thank you, baby. You're very sad. He was a very good friend of mine. So I could be accused of the same thing that this person on Facebook was doing. Oh, you're just writing about Jamie to get people to pay attention to you and not Jamie. Well, if you read the article, you can tell that I'm torn by it. I'm upset by it. I'm not trying to exploit his life. I'm trying to celebrate his life because I had found these videos and put them on Vimeo so we could watch them. So that was the instigating fact for writing this article about Jamie. And then Jamie's sister saw this maybe a year or two later and sent me a very vicious email saying, "Who are you? How dare you write about the death, the suicide of my brother?" And then she said, "Well, I hope my parents don't see this." And I responded to her. This is in private email. This is not in the comments or anything. And I said to her, "Well, I don't think we've ever met, but Jamie was a friend of mine from high school. We saw each other every day. We saw each other every week at the University of Nebraska. He starred in my show, so we worked together 24 hours a day, as did everyone on this show, for about 3 months, 24/7, all of us working, trying to get this television show up and running, and we did. And I am remembering fondly my friend. I'm not disparaging him. I'm not accusing him of anything. And I, in fact, know your parents. They were around while we were filming. They were very gracious to me and to the rest of the cast. So I understand why you're upset, but I'm not sure why you're upset with me. I understand you're probably upset with Jamie. But don't be mad at me for remembering your brother and memorializing him as best I could in this article. Well, she didn't say anything, didn't reply again, which I was sort of relieved because I really didn't want to get into any kind of messy fight with Jamie's sister, but I also felt I needed to stand up against the accusation. So that brings us back to our question of the day, is who owns a suicide? Is it the direct family, the parents only? Friends? Cousins, nephews? I think the difference is it's all about tone, it's all about context, and it's all about attitude. I wasn't misleading anyone here in this article. The title of the article is The Irrevocable End of Jameson Paul Musak. You can't take it back once you do it. And this is all part of my drama structure that I've talked about here, other places, that the point of writing a dramatic piece, whatever it is, a story, an article, film, television show, is when it's all said and done, when the story is told, if everyone in that story can go back to the way things were at the very beginning of the story, then you have failed as a dramatist. There has been no irrevocable change. Change you cannot reverse. Change you cannot take back. Now, for young writers, the irrevocable change usually is the easiest thing to do is a death. A person dies, you go back to the beginning of the story. That person can't go back to the beginning of the story because at the end of the story, they're dead. So that's one way of doing it. There are other ways of doing it. Psychosis, a change in a person, they go insane, they cannot be put back to the way they were at the very beginning of the show. But if they can go back to the way they were at the beginning of the show, then you have not set up the structure of your play correctly. So that's why when I teach my students, I say you must have irrevocable change you cannot take back. And I said if you're experimenting, the most dramatic thing you can have a character say as the first line of any play is, "I'm going to kill you." Right there, there's a threat. Right there, there is the promise, in quotation marks, of an irrevocable change. And maybe someone dies and maybe someone doesn't. But when you say a line like that, "I'm going to kill you," and mean it, and you're not kidding around, right from the first word spoken, you have attacked and arrested the attention of your audience. And that's exactly what you want to do as a dramatist. So this is a story of Jamie, who is super talented, had friends who cared about him and loved him, and there is a bit of dismay going on, like, maybe if he had called me before he did this, or called someone, reached out, and maybe he did, and maybe he didn't. But in the end, we have to accept, whether we like it or not, that the person's life is in their own hands. They decide their own irrevocable end. And we may not like it, we may protest against it, but the decision isn't ours. The decision that is ours is how we choose to remember them. Do we exploit the death for Facebook likes and sympathies? Or do we try to understand the death place the life in the context of achievement and promise, and even heartache and dismay. So to answer my question, who owns a suicide? The person doing the killing is the person who owns the suicide. And the rest of us who are left behind choose to remember and mourn in our own way. And we can only hope, we can only pray to the gods of irrevocable change that our grief and our mourning is respectful and tempered and not grotesque, but perhaps shines a light, sends an alarm for other people who may be contemplating that same unfortunate end. And that said, I'm going to take my very first blood pressure break. I'll return in a moment. And we are back from break. This is Boles TV, BOLES .television. Better. Coming to you live Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Well, we talked about the interesting topic of suicide, who owns it, who's crass, who's not, who's trying to help, who's in context, and who is out of line. And now we're going to talk a little bit about Ukraine. As we know, our friend, Brother Karamazov, Alexander Grushansky, sends us videos and photos from his life in Ukraine, just as an ordinary citizen, a former jeweler who was out there trying to survive in his life. And I have an update from him. But I also have a film recommendation that he made on Twitter. And so when I saw him saying this is his favorite movie, I thought, well, now I need to watch this and see what Alexander likes. So I found the movie. And I'm going to give you a brief review of the movie. This is the movie. In Time. 2011. About 2 hours. And it is a star-studded, a power-packed movie that doesn't quite fulfill the promise of the premise, which is nothing new. So what happens is, here's the blurb. In a future where people stop aging at 25, but are engineered to only live one more year, having the means to buy your way out of the situation is a shot at immortal youth. So that's the story. And it's a story about being rich and being poor. And it's all about time. Time is money, right? I think that was the inspiration for this movie. So instead of money, people exchange time. And they have time that's recorded in LED printouts on their arm, which sounds a little weird, but that really worked well. So you steal time, you take time, you earn time, you pay time. And some people, of course, have 1,000,000 years of time. They're stuck at age 25 for hundreds of lifetimes. And then there are other people who run out of time. They're poor, they don't have access, they don't want to steal from other people, steal people's time. So they just slowly fade away, wither, and die. Okay, interesting story. The telling of the story is where it didn't really make sense. And then I saw at the end that it was written, produced, directed by one guy, which can be great if you're Christopher Nolan or Orson Welles. Or you can see as you're watching it, there's something wrong here. The script is not quite right. The idea of the story is terrific. The way the scenes are put together, cut together, feel very young and amateurish. And amateur is not a negative term. Amateur means getting started. A professional is a person who's done something for many years, many times. An amateur is a person who is just starting out. So here we go with the superstars. The cast. Justin Timberlake starred in the movie. Now, he's very boring. He has no on-screen charisma. But he was okay. Amanda Seyfried was, I guess, his co-star, kind of. She was very good. Cillian Murphy was the bad guy. Of course, as always, completely fantastic. Olivia Wilde played the mother of Justin Timberlake. He looks 80 years old, she looks 18. That was a little weird. And since this is an old movie from 11 years ago, she dies very early. And it's heartbreaking because she's like the center of everything she's ever in. And to kill her off that early, didn't work. Johnny Galecki's in the movie? Not very much. Again, there. Killed off early. So you have all of these really terrific, mainline, top-notch, outstanding, fantastic, unbelievable actors. Andrew Nichols, the writer and the director. I don't even know who this is. What else has he done? Other credits include Gattaca. That was a wonderful movie. Truman Show. People liked it. I thought it was silly. In Time, The Host. The Host, he wrote the screenplay for The Host. That's interesting movie. He has interesting premises. Now, as a director, I don't think that this worked very well. I thought it was very clunky. And the thing that shocked me the most is that In Time, and I believe its original title was Time Out, the director of photography, the guy who does the look of the film, right, was Roger Deakins. Now, this film looked awful. The staging was clunky. The camera work was clunky. The color of the movie was just off and not right. They had this awful sound effect that whenever a car drove, and they were all gas cars, but they were trying to make it like a futuristic car. So they had a zoom, so like they're electric cars, but they sound like gas cars. So we're adding this zoom to make it a futuristic car. I just get the feeling they somehow ran out of money. I think the budget was $40 million, which is sort of nothing for a big movie like this. But jinkers. Oh, what was that? Who was the bad guy father? I didn't recognize him. Ah, this guy, I believe. Yeah? Let's click on him. Colin McGurk. He was really terrific. Really, 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 really good. Yeah, he was really good. He played like an 80-year-old man or something, or he'd lived 80 lives at 25. I don't know. That guy's a superstar, but he hasn't done very much. Really terrific. He stole the movie to me, which wasn't that hard, stealing it from Justin Timberlake. So, Roger Deakins was director of photography. Now, Roger Deakins is a superstar. That director, and I'm sure it was pushed by the movie company to say, hey, you're new, you haven't directed a lot, you've written some good, interesting movies, but we have to have somebody who knows what they're doing behind the camera to help you. And Roger Deakins played that role, but he didn't seem to play that role because it looked awful. There was no style, there was no depth, no context, no comprehension of what the movie was really about on a higher level, visually speaking. And Roger Deakins, born in 1949, is an old pro and an old hand, and I mean that respectfully, as I'm going to show you. These are his movies that he did as the director of photography, as he did on In Time / Time Out, 1917. The Goldfinch, Blade Runner, 2049, Hail Caesar, Sicario, Unbroken, Prisoners, Skyfall, In Time, Rango, cinematography consultant because it was an animated movie, but it was well done. True Grit, Company Man, Serious Man, The Assassination of Jesse James, No Country for Old Men. Beautiful movie. Looks fantastic. Does a guy like Roger Deakins fall so hard and so horribly? Something happened. And usually in the biz, that means people didn't like each other. Boundaries were drawn. I'll do my thing, you do your thing, I'm here, you're there. We'll only communicate when we have to. See you in the editing room. That was the feeling, because the idea was spectacular. Execution didn't really come together. So now we're talking about our friend Alexander, who loved the movie, and I understand why. Where he is in Ukraine, the power struggle, it's not about money, it's about time, it's about survival. I get it. Interesting. So sometimes I get video updates from Alexander. Sometimes he sends photos. Sometimes he just sends me messages in chat. And so he did. So this is what he told me. Venezia is how I would pronounce this with my Midwestern background. Came under attack. And I don't know if he's close to there, but maybe he is. Was bombed. 2 missiles. And the air defense system shot both of those Russian missiles out of the sky. And Alexander always says, peaceful skies. Sleep well in peaceful skies. So, Venezia is a city on the southern Bug River in west central Ukraine. Set in the river, the large multimedia fountain Roshin emits sound and colored lights. The landscape Gorky Park has a state park, sports stadium, and planetarium. This is where it is on the map. Sort of in the center of Ukraine. And this is all in Ukrainian, so I can't really see it or understand it. But that's where Venezia is located. As we step out, and we step out, we can see these other cities around. So it's not really in a danger zone. This is the danger zone where all the active fighting is going on. So this is sort of close to Kyiv. I think it's like 120 miles maybe from Kyiv. But it's close enough to get 2 missiles. Some photos. These are not from Alexander. These are from the Google of Venezia. Beautiful land. Gorgeous. Railroads, train tracks. It's a beautiful country, place to live, with monuments to the implements of war. Love the simple architecture, just glorious and beautiful. Simple. Now you think these people want to get up and take guns and go in a bug out shelter and fight against Russians? No, they don't want to, but they have to. What choice do they have? They're being attacked. So our friend Alexander also said that it is a big problem that there are people in Ukraine who are selling out the location of troops to the Russians for money. Now you think, oh, we're under attack. We need to defend the homeland. We need to stand up, take up arms, fight back the aggressors. You would think that, right? Well, I guess that isn't human nature. Human nature is about survival. And if I can get one over on my neighbor, I know where the troops are because I went there. So if I could find some Russian money where they pay me a little bit of money, and I just happen to mention where the Ukraine troops are stationed, well, no one can blame me for just sharing the obvious, right? And then you get paid off. So how do you deal with traitors among you, neighbors who are selling you out? The highest bid from a Russian agent who is in your midst. Who do you trust? While other people around you, like our friend Alexander, are somehow able to take out loans in the middle of a war to survive. How can you pay your bills when you don't have a jewelry shop anymore? Nobody is buying an earring. How do you provide for your family? You go and you volunteer at the local Ukraine military base, and you're on watch, on duty for 24 hours. You're not getting paid for that. The government doesn't have any money for you. So you have no home, you don't have any money, you're taking out loans to pay for your daily expenses, to eat. Your spirit is getting extorted by your neighbors. How do you survive? Information is worth paying for, I guess. And as Alexander said, money is just paper. Money's just metal. What does that have to do with winning a war or surviving? For a little bit of money, you sell out your country? If you lose your freedom, then how much money you have doesn't matter, because the Russians are here. And that story, that update from Alexander, which was very disappointing in that you could feel his anxiety and disappointment in his fellow Ukrainians. And he said, it's getting worrisome now that the closer these missiles get, the more I realize I am staying, Alexander. I am Alexander staying, but my family, my kids, my parents, they will have to leave. He didn't say where, but I think he means out of the country, to find a safe haven for them. And he seems to be well connected, so I hope that works out. But then right after Alexander and I were talking about that yesterday, this pops up in my email, which sort of shocked me, because it seems absolutely in line with what Alexander was just telling me about the war in Ukraine, about how there are people, stooges around you, who are looking at you, writing down where you are, sending that information to Russia and getting paid to rat you out, rat out your location. There's Alexander with a gun over there. Well, it looks like CBS News partially retracts a documentary that outraged Ukraine, by claiming that U.S. weapon shipments were going missing. Now, just reading that title, you understand exactly what's going on. Alexander just told you. There's big money in a war. Guns, bombs, food, supplies, medical supplies, all coming into Ukraine. And there are people, war profiteers around you, who will steal that and keep it for themselves, sell it to the highest bidder, take it, give it to the Russians for a little bit of money. This is the underside of the war in Ukraine. And how do you combat it? How do you stop this sort of thievery by the people you're trying to help? You wouldn't think that there are people in Ukraine who say, okay, give me some ready-to-eat meals and some guns so I can stand up against the Russians. Well, I'll take all of that you give me, turn around, sell it to the Russians. CBS said it was updating a documentary that said most weapons sent to Ukraine don't reach the front. And after talking to Alexander, that doesn't surprise me at all. But, no, don't say that, Ukraine says. No, take it back. Then people won't help us if they think that stuff's going missing or the weapons are being sold. CBS admitted that a figure it cited claiming only 30% of military aid arrives was out of date. Saving face, okay, we were right, but now we're wrong, but maybe we're still right. The documentary angered some in the Ukrainian government. CBS said it was adding new information. Among material removed from the documentary was a quote the founder of pro-Ukraine nonprofit Blue Yellow, Jonas Ullman, who said in late April that only around 30% of aid was reaching the front lines in Ukraine, which is really important to know and to get out there. Look, there's a supply problem. There are rats in Ukraine helping the Russians. CBS said that since that time, Ullman says delivery has improved. It also noted that the U.S. has sent an official, Brigadier General Garrick Harmon, to Kyiv specifically to monitor the use of military aid. That's a very good thing, but an unfortunate thing. The U.S. says, okay, we're putting our guy in because all of our stuff's going missing, and we need to figure out why, who's taking it, and where are they selling it. The U.S. and other nations have sent Ukraine vast quantities of weapons since Russia invaded on February 24. Ukraine has repeatedly described the aid as a game changer in its defense, recently highlighting the U.S. gift of HIMARS long-range artillery as a crucial tool. CBS noted that allied countries sent weapons to the Ukrainian border with Poland, where they are taken hundreds of miles east to the front lines. And that's where things happen. Well, we're moving things by truck. Maybe it'll get there. Maybe there'll be a little diversion. We'll meet some Russian agents and give all over this stuff. The location of all weapons given to Ukraine was known. This is a war, live, where everything is seen, total accounting and control, which we know is absolutely not possible. And here's the blurb from CBS News. We removed a tweet promoting our recent doc arming Ukraine, which quoted the founder of nonprofit Blue Yellow, Jonas Ullman's assessment in late April that only 30% of aid was reaching the front lines in Ukraine. So they're taking it back, but they're not taking it back. As of April, the quote was correct. What's the updated number? They don't say. So there you go. That's very interesting news, confirmed before we even read about it by our friend Alexander in Ukraine, complaining about his neighbors selling out the location of Ukraine troops to the Russians for a little bit of money. And now we're taking another very brief blood pressure break, returning momentarily. And we are back from break. This is Bowles TV, BOLES television, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Well, the lovely Jana Marie Sweetheart over the weekend did a wonderful article about monkeypox and how some critics are saying, hey, monkeypox is racist. I guess the argument is that at one time in the terrible history of our nation, that some black people were referred to as monkeys. And the fact that this monkeypox outbreak is happening in mainly black and Hispanic neighborhoods with homosexual men condemns them unfairly by labeling a virus after a subset of people. Hey, there's Jana Marie. An interesting topic to discuss. Yes, really fascinating. And the thing about monkeypox that I didn't know until we watched a story, a really in-depth interview on CNN over the weekend, is that monkeypox is really the touching virus. COVID is transmitted through the air, and the air you breathe. Whereas monkeypox is on surfaces. Monkeypox is through touch and through objects. If an infected person touches an object, it appears that the monkeypox, for the sake of transmission, stays on that object for 3 days. So this CNN interview, they were talking about this guy who got monkeypox. He said, my friends and I were sitting around playing cards. And he said one of us must have been infected because 5 days later, I was infected with monkeypox. And he said they were passing out cards, doing the bridge. And he showed where all of the initial outbreaks were on his fingers, where he was touching the playing cards. He said they were playing spades. And then there was another person in that same group who got monkeypox on his elbow. Why on his elbow? Well, because of COVID, right? We've been taught not to shake hands. Some people don't even want to fist bump. They say the safe thing to do is bump elbows. And that guy got monkeypox all over his elbows and his forearms from elbow bumping instead of fist bumping. So you try to do everything right, play by the rules, be safe, stay inside, play cards with your friends, elbow bump instead of fist bump. Everybody comes down with monkeypox. So my concern is if it's that transmissible, what are these schools going to do? I mean, let's say a university where you have a classroom, right? And students, we hope, will still be wearing masks. And you have, 5 classes a day in one room, 20 students in a class, leave, 20 students come in, leave, touching surfaces, touching their desks, touching the door handle, touching the bathrooms. So what are they going to do? Oh, okay, you have to wear a mask. You have to cover your elbows in case you be fist bumping. No naked elbows allowed. Don't wear shorts. Wear surgical gloves, touching things. And dispose of them between classes, put on new gloves. If you've touched a surface, a common surface in a room, take off your gloves, throw away, new gloves. Is that what's going to happen? No. Is that what should happen to prevent the spread of these diseases? Yes. And when you're at a university in a big city like New York City, where you have thousands of students from all over the world coming in, mingling with each other, that is a lot of secondary, tertiary contact that's impossible to trace if somebody gets sick. Imagine airports, big places where people mingle and gather and touch things and use the bathroom. It's being declared a state of emergency now by Biden administration. It's a state of emergency in New York State. So now what are they going to do about it? Are all classes going to go online again for a semester? They should, but will they? I don't know. They claim they lost a lot of money, but a lot of universities with big endowments really made a lot of money on their endowments because they could shut down all their facilities. Force everybody to be online, right? Shut down all the buildings. You don't have to heat them. You can heat them minimally. There's no electricity being used because everyone's working from home. Saved a lot of money. They didn't say they did. They said they lost billions and billions of dollars. But if you think about it, and you see their spreadsheets, you see they made a lot of money on the pandemic. But I don't think that students would go for that again. Because students said, why should I take a class here when I can take another class online somewhere else? Well, you're taking a class not because you're on campus. You're taking a class because of the faculty. And that is really what it comes down to. A community college in the Midwest, I wager, does not have the same depth of a faculty as an Ivy League institution. I just believe that's not a statement of braggadocio or fact, but one of truth. From a research point of view, from a reputation point of view, from a publishing point of view, the Ivy League faculty has a deeper bench, I guess we should say, than the community college in the Midwest. And some people, that doesn't matter. They just want to get a degree and go. Well, that's fine. Then take your online classes from the Midwest and go. Other people have other standards and other intellectual and thoughtful goals that are better served by, say, an Ivy League faculty. So here's the argument for changing monkeypox, and I understand it. But I do think it's too late because everybody knows monkeypox now, and you can't go back and say, oh, we have this new disease called whatever it is. Forget monkeypox, this is the new name. It's too late. Critics say the name monkeypox plays into racist stereotypes about black people, African, and LGBTQ people. And they note it falsely suggests monkeys are the main source of the virus. Monkeypox should not be renamed for two major reasons. First, there's a long history of referring to blacks as monkeys, so monkeypox is racist and stigmatizes blacks. I understand that, actually. The second reason why it should be changed is monkeypox gives us a wrong impression that the disease is only transmitted by monkeys. Doctor says that's wrong. Yet, despite growing criticism of the name, the International Committee on Taxonomy of Viruses told NPR that even if the name is changed in the next year or two, the term monkey will still likely be a part of any revamped name. While the WHO names diseases, the ICTV determines the formal names of the viruses. In recent discussions held by the ICTV, the consensus is that use of the name monkey is sufficiently separated from any pejorative context because there's no reason for any change. Misinformation about the virus, HIV, and AIDS led people to believe that it was spread to humans after people in Africa engaged in sexual activity with monkeys. With the monkeypox name linked to similar feelings of stigma and racism, people of color and members of LGBTQ communities may avoid engaging in vital healthcare services because they don't want that label attached to them. And there aren't enough vaccines available anyway. And this goes back to COVID-19, right? The official name is SARS-CoV-2, As you know, unfortunately, there were politicians who called it the Wuhan virus, more commonly known as the China virus. That was not helpful. They thought about using colors, the red virus, the gold virus, but then there were concerns about that as well. So they gave it the unseemly, painful name SARS-CoV-2, shortened to COVID-19. Monkeypox is making headlines right now, partly because some populations are being exposed to it for the first time. But associating a disease with a region has much longer-lasting negative, impactful consequences than most people realize. So that's an interesting take on this. I think it's too late to call it anything other than monkeypox, just because that's what people know and think it is. The impression that people suffering in Africa is to be expected and is acceptable, whereas the suffering that's happening right here in the USA as a result of monkeypox is highly exceptional, and we should be responding, and that in itself is that Africa should suffer while the USA soars is, in itself, a racist idea. Now, speaking of monkeypox, which started as a sexually transmitted disease and is now becoming much more common as a surface-borne virus, this hit my inbox this morning, which I find very fascinating. Young people in India have found a new way to get high. Flavored condoms. Young people in India are reportedly using soaked flavored condoms to feel intoxicated. The condom high can last 12 to 10 hours, but have an adverse effect on the consumer's mental and physical health. And I don't know if this is only condoms made in India or if this is good for any flavored condom. Love the photo. A chemistry professor claims that submerging condoms in hot water for an extended period of time dissolves big organic molecules and produces alcohol compounds. Young people are kept drunk by the chemical that is produced when the condoms are soaked. The intoxicating substance in condoms is an aromatic chemical. In addition, the substance can be found in dendrites, another substance that is frequently used to elicit intoxication. Dendrite use is widespread and primarily among young people, and it is thought to be a subpar way to get a high. Glycerin is also used to add flavor to condoms, which are made from the natural rubber component polyisoprene. The synthetic material polyurethane is utilized to strengthen the condom's toughness and stretchability. The intoxicating effects of polyurethane are thought to be caused by its aromatic constituents. It is thought that the boiling flavor-infused condoms in water and then putting them aside for 6 to 8 hours, the polyurethane breaks down, producing ethylene glycol, a type of alcohol. So this is not a fast high. You have to plan this early. Get up, boil your condoms, put them aside for about 8 hours. Go to work, come back. I guess you drink the bowl of water? I don't quite understand it. Flavored condoms are available over the counter in every pharmacy, just like hand sanitizers, cough drops, nail paint removers. When used in big doses, a substance of that type can produce a high that lasts 12 hours. This water can lead to addiction and intoxication. I guess they do drink the water. Repeated consumption will have bad effects on the lungs, kidneys, and nervous system of the body. Long-term use can lead to mental problems, including violent behaviors, unconsciousness, and in some circumstances, even death. Gasoline, glue, spray paint, solvents, cleaning agents, other aerosols are used as inhalants. Huffing, bagging, sniffing, snorting, all part of that usage behavior. The pleasure experienced when using inhalants is heightened by hypoxia and hypotension, brought on by rebreathing from a closed bag. So beware out there. It's dangerous. There are people doing wild and strange things just to get a cheap high. Who knew a flavored condom could not only maybe protect you from pregnancy and sexually transmitted disease, but in the end, before it's used, boiled and set aside for a day, can get you a little high. Seems slightly desperate, but I guess we sort of live in desperate, strange, cheap times. And now we're taking a very brief break, returning in a moment. And we are back from break. This is Boles TV, BOLES .television .tv, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. And it's been an interesting show today. I thank you so much for being here. And now we're going to round out the day. Yes, friends, it's that time again. It's time for some not Bobby Fischer jazz with your friend and mine, Ringo Starr. I mean David Bowles. So today, we're going back to our old friends at Chessable. My username there is Chessa Bowles. Cute, right? And we're going to attempt to solve a new puzzle. Now, I admit I'm not great at these kind of puzzles. Here's why this is called not Bobby Fischer. Jazz with David Bowles. Now, the object of today's puzzle in this chapter Hey, Jana Marie, thank you so much. It's very bizarre looking, but I do like it because it is representative of the horror that is me playing chess. Can't show the chessboard yet because this is Chessable. And the way Chessable does their teaching, which I like, is they give you a scenario, usually in a chapter in a book, with a goal to teach you something in each chapter. So when you start to solve, like when I click on this to solve 4 means there are 4 moves I have to make in order to beat the puzzle. If I make a mistake, they make me go back, find my error, well, they show me the error, and then they make me go back and do the right move. And sometimes you make the right move and they say, well, that's one way you could do it, but do it the other way. And if you don't do it exactly the other way they want you to do it, then they punish you, which is not fair. You should get credit for the one that you got right, but they don't want you to use yet. But the reason I can't click on this yet is because when I do, a countdown timer begins, and you'll see it goes ring. So I have to make my move before the timer expires. Which puts a lot of pressure on me, I'll admit. Because when I play at home, offline, I am Bobby Fischer. I am the genius that was Bobby Fischer. But when I play here with you online, I get very nervous. And the lights are in my eyes, and I'm hot, and the air conditioner isn't working, and So the object of this lesson that we're doing now, that we're studying, and it's almost over, I think I have 4 more puzzles in this chapter, is to pin the king with other pieces. So when you finally checkmate the king himself cannot move out of checkmate because he is surrounded by pieces or by threats on all sides. It's very interesting. It's one of my favorite chapters. And usually, as I've said on these Chessable puzzles, the first thing they want you to do is sacrifice your queen, which is always hard to do. So it's good that they really force you to do that. So that's where I usually start as saying, okay, they want me to get rid of my queen so they can punish me and teach me how to do this. So sacrifice the queen, they take it, then what do? That's when the real puzzle begins. So a 4-step puzzle is a difficult puzzle. You start the chapter, you have 2 things you have to figure out. Now you have to have 4. So you have to think 4 steps ahead. So I'm going to click on this, and I hope it's the right size. If I have to resize it, I'm going to have to resize it. So this is going to cost me what I call temperature time. Okay, so my timer's begun white to play. Okay, so I'm the white pieces, and my timer's moving. There's the rambunctious king. Now, initially, I want to say I want to move here to here, put the king in check. Where's my queen? And here's my queen right here. Now, see, they probably want me to put my queen right here and put the king in check that way, right? So they can take my queen. Ah, that's what they want to do. They want to take my queen with this rook, and then that rook pins the king. I would naturally go horse, knight. I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to move my queen because I am pretty sure Chessable loves that. Ah, see, I'm being too smart. I'm faking myself out. The move I wanted to make was the correct move. Don't be so smart. So see, now Chessable makes me go back, makes me make the correct move, then the king moves, and now my thermometer starts all over again. So now I have to figure out what I want to do. I almost want to put my knight here because that takes up a space. But then the king will just move back and take. And then I guess I will come here. This is not looking great for me. Maybe I need to go back here. Maybe I should do that. Oh, I'm going to move the knight back. That was the right move. That was, in fact, the right move. Isn't that remarkable? Well, now I think it has to be queen here, in check, that, and then we go right back there. Okay, that's the puzzle. I figured it out. It took me a while. So, I'm going to move my queen here. Yeah. Puts king in check. This rook will take. I lose my queen, which is what they love to have happen. Then, so the rook will be in that square. Then I move here to here. King is in check. King cannot move. There's no piece that can take the knight. I win the puzzle. Okay. I will do it. I'm running out of time. Ooh, close. Okay, so rook takes, right? Bing, bang. Now I move. Hello. I win the puzzle. So I learned 4 new moves. My accuracy was a disappointing 75%. This puzzle took me 3 minutes to solve. Hey, I was talking to you. Normally I would do this with my eyes closed in 10 seconds. I gained 120 stars. 5 more puzzles to go. Yay! But we won't do them now. Now to continue our Bobby Fischer, not Bobby Fischer. Chess playing time. We go to chess.com for the chess move of the day. White to move, okay? This does not have a timer, so this I can think all day long if I want to. And here's a hint. It's usually a hint that's not a hint, but you always have to read it. Advancing in another direction, which means you have to go forward before you can go backward, I guess. These puzzles can be a little harder. All right, so what do we have? Here's the enemy king. Here's my enemy king. My king. Ooh, the enemy queen's very close. Here's my queen. So just off the top of my head, I see this that puts the king in check. This that puts the king in check. And I sort of like that. Then what? Queen moves? No, because then I'll just take. That's not going to be, so the king is going to have to move. Where the king moves, we don't know. But I believe that's the first move, so I think I'm going to make that move, and if it doesn't work out, they're going to tell me. Try again. That was not the move they wanted. So I try again. So the idea is to put the king in check. So I'm thinking now we go here. I will try. That was the right move. Better, but it's not my puzzle. Play by the rules of the puzzle. But now what? Queen. Here, no. Here, no. I could move this here, which I think is a very interesting move. Lining it up. Getting the shotgun ready, as they say. Because this can't move. This can't move. This can't move. I will try. I like it, but it's not my puzzle. No, try again. Now see, when we get it, when we fail 3 times, then I get a hint. And it will tell you what piece to move. And then it can tell you again, hey, you want us to move the piece for you? And sometimes that happens. I don't want it to happen today yet, I don't think. So what can I move? Where, Davy? Not a lot, really. I could go here. Now, I always like this, taking a big piece. But it doesn't get me anything strategically. One thing I've learned about these chess puzzles is they really, really, really want you to always be putting the opposing king in jeopardy. I don't see any way to do that, though. I'm going to make this move, but I know it's wrong. Oh no, that was the right move. That's so weird. So that's the right move. Because then I can go here with the king in check, but then the king goes here. As you can see, my friend, I am not Bobby Fischer. And that was the latest episode of Not Bobby Fischer Chess. With your friend and mine, Ringo Starr. No, it's just me. Well, we had a wonderful show today. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, email me, david@bowls.tv. If you have any thoughts you'd like to share on Twitter, new ideas, follow me on Twitter. Super follow is super fun. Do it to it. Hey, @David Bowles. On Facebook, we're regular old BOLES. On Instagram, Bowles Books. TikTok, Bowles TV. And hey, if you want to be part of our Discord, like Jana Marie, who says, great show, building me up and making me feel wonderful. Thank you, my baby. Our Discord has a lot of interesting things going on. Alexander, our brother Katsamarov, who we talked about earlier, is there, posts interesting articles, photographs from Ukraine. We have a vegan area, a Husker area, plus a hardcore ASL area where you can ask Jana Marie questions about her life, her times, her teaching, her language. So until tomorrow, I wish you a wonderful day, a great sleep, a wonderful nap. And when ye shall awaken, may your joy be filled with the soulfulness of living. I'll see you tomorrow.